I really like that this track is called Asmiov because Asimov relates to Isaac Asimov, one of the big three in science fiction writing. Asimov was an American writer and professor of biochemistry at Boston University. During his lifetime, Asimov was considered one of the big three science fiction writers along with Robert A. Heinlein and Arthur C. Clarke. Asimov was famous for the Foundation series. I think it's really interesting that in No Man's Sky, a game where exploration and adventure runs rampant and you can basically do whatever you like and have infinite possibility. I don't know, the song Asimov really gives us a feeling of vastness and unlimitedness, which is really, really gorgeous. Yeah, what I love about this is that for 30 seconds, we legit have like a slow building crescendo. In a lot of ways, much like space itself, there's sort of this feeling of infinity. There's not really an end, like things just kind of progress. And I mean, when you look at music in general, I mean, music generally speaking really is kind of infinite in its finiteness because we have recordings and we can watch videos on YouTube and stuff. But in reality, like when we actually listen to music, if we didn't capture it, it would be completely finite. So we've taken something that's finite like music and made it infinite, which is a really interesting thought process, I think. And my point being that in this particular piece, the first 30 seconds, we have this really slow crescendo being increase in volume. And as we move through this, it's really the same rhythmic pattern. It's this fantastic mixture of ambient music mixed with like a proper like melodic composition. On the one hand, you have what sounds like an engine almost. That's that sort of sound quality. And then you have the percussion. It's interesting because even though it's stretched out and delayed, it's fully rhythmic with the use of the snare propelling us. That was a bit of a rant, but hopefully that made sense. These sci-fi tracks really make me think about life. So right there is such a gorgeous transition because you essentially have this pattern for a whole minute. And then you all of a sudden flip and you get this gorgeous melodic line where they have long notes. Right? You're thankful to hear a melody because it repeats for so long that you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden melody comes in and there's a big shift all of a sudden. There's a total different idea and it feels really nice. Right here. Right? You feel that? You feel how like you have this like rhythmic pattern. Let's just circle back a little bit. Okay, cool. All right. Okay. And then another bit. Right. You feel how when the strings come in there, there's almost a sense of relief because we've been listening to the exact same rhythmic pattern for literally 51 seconds. So when there's a switch and we get into this melody, it's just really satisfying. Those are really nice harmonies there too. When we listen to melodic patterns like that and we think about how they make us feel, one of the things that people don't do a lot of is they don't sit down and really listen to aspects of music on a micro scale and say, this pattern makes me feel a certain emotion. And for me, when I hear that beat pattern and that melodic pattern, I should say, I feel a real sense of contemplation. Like I feel contemplative. I feel curious. I feel like peace. I feel a little bit of maybe a little bit of excitement. But in general, when I hear that, I automatically feel tuned into a feeling of reflection. Like, yes, I've got a chance here to really change my life, and I have a chance here to really do something beautiful. I need to take this chance because, well, I may not have this chance again. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because again, it hasn't changed that much, but the use of the strings coupled with the electric guitar, that is much more energized. And even though nothing has really changed besides adding an instrument really in the periphery, you're able to think about the music in a slightly different way emotionally, which is really sort of perplexing and crazy that composition can do that, and that subtle little things can add an enormous change in expression and the interpretation. It's very galvanizing. To hear how at the bottom of this, it really does sound like almost like the bottom notes of an organ. It's very grounded, and I think that's like a very spacey sound for me. Like, that's very vibratory. It vibrates my entire body, kind of. I see space when I hear that, you know what I mean? I hear darkness. I hear stars twinkling. It's cool. And then we have a reset. Oh, that's nice. Finally, we're done with that rhythmic pattern. This is like deeply contemplative, long sustained notes. Electric guitar in the background. Really muted. And then I think here we're gonna launch. That's super interesting. It's like going into a black hole and you don't have sound or something. Yeah, here's a big crescendo. I like this slow plotty thing actually, because it feels like determination. Okay, this is the moment we're launching into space. That rhythm, boom, ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum, bum, bum. That feels very marchy. In opera, we call it a marziale, which is the sort of like overture that's based around a military march. So now not only do you have a combo of rhythm and melody, but you have this unison here where we're having this bum, ba-da-bum, 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 bum, in this like sort of snare drummy lower drum thing. And then you have this electric guitar like synthesizer. Because it's so slow, to me, it gives me a feeling like I'm invoking possibility, and I'm invoking like moving forward and being really focused and determined and trusting my guts and believing in something bigger than myself. But it's interesting because that interpretation is not going to be the same for other people. Now, other people may hear what I mean, but it doesn't mean that that's going to be what they infer. And also what's really interesting is that a melody like this, because of where it is in the range, it's really easy to get distracted. It's really easy to actually not pay attention to it and completely have it miss you. If you're not actively listening, which most people don't, you won't actually be able to hear the delicacy and the sort of secret hidden meaning behind the rhythm and the melody. It doesn't slap you in the face. It's not like a big bombastic piece per se, even though this is a nice buildup. I like how we're adding layers to this with a twinkling sound quality. You still the same rhythm pattern, but now it's in a different spot. It sounds far away. That's so gorgeous. And I think because it's so slow, it actually creates more of a feeling of, I wouldn't want to say enthusiasm, but that's where my brain went, but it gives more of a feeling of brilliance. There's something about it that I feel unlimited possibility, or even I feel like just like launching into space for the first time, right? If you think of No Man's Sky directly in context, let's say, like there's something about like sliding up, and something that No Man's Sky does so brilliantly is that you can literally just hop off that planet, just pitch up, and then you're up into the clouds, and then you're into the atmosphere and into the space. And I think that that's a really satisfying feeling of like launching oneself. And that I think this, on the one hand, is kind of a meditative track, and it's almost like a meditative experience. But on the flip side, you are getting something that's very, I don't know, it feels very supportive and it feels very grounded. And I think the slow rhythm helps that. I also think that the melody helps that da 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 da. That's incredibly simple. Like, we're not talking like, this isn't some complex thing. And yet the soundscape of having all the electric guitars feels very like wide from a sonoral perspective. It's almost like you're in it. Then we have this like sort of like, let's like taper off. It ends in a really nice like bookended way, because if you think about it, the way it started was very sort of big, and it crescendos into an arc, whereas here we pull all the way back and we're left with this upper pitch in the guitar, which feels very vocal. And it feels very human. I went into this with a little bit of misconceptions because it can be a little slow and it can be a little bit ambient, a little boring. But Asmiov here, I felt like I was listening to something really inspiring, and that was really fun for me. It didn't feel simple, even though structurally I would say it was fairly simple. It was really good at helping to create a feeling. And if you're clued into that, it feels really, really nice. That was a little bit pontificate-y today. If you like this, feel free to check out more videos. I stream on Twitch and on YouTube, multi-streaming basically every other day. Feel free to come hang out and say hi. Yeah, and as always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you later.